Today on NuggetCast, Server 2012 R2. Should you get it, and is it worth the price of the upgrade?
Can we export the server yet?
No.
Can we export the server yet?
No.
Can we export?
No.
Can we export?
No.
Can we export? 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 Can we export?
No! No!
Can we export? 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 Can we export?
Guys, so we upgraded to R2. We can export it without shutting down. Jeez.
Can you export or clone the server? Yes, you can. And thanks to Server 2012 R2, you can do it without interruption. Welcome to NuggetCast. I'm your host, Steve Barth, and today we're exploring new features such as this in Server 2012 R2. Now, let's take a quick step back. In September of 2012, Server 2012 was released to the world. But as with all technology, as time has passed, technology has advanced, requiring the release of new features. Rather than coming out with a whole new system, new features were added to Server 2012 through an upgrade called Release 2, or R2 for short. Now, there is some licensing costs to make the upgrade, which begs some questions. What kinds of new features are available? What kinds of businesses can benefit from the upgrade? And are the new features worth the price of upgrading? Today, let's explore these questions with CBT Nuggets trainer Chris Ward so we can learn the basics of Server 2012 R2. Chris Ward, welcome to NuggetCast. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. Recovering from the holidays and Christmas and all that, but good to see you again.
Well, as we start the new year, let's talk some fun technology. Let's talk some Server 2012 R2. What can you tell us about R2 of Server 2012?
Well, Server 2012 R2 actually, Steve, is pretty neat because unlike other operating system upgrades, or I wouldn't say upgrades, but even we would say changes that they make, there's a lot of new features, not just a one or two and then maybe some bug fixes. We're talking about full-blown, full-scale actual features.
Okay, so what kind of new features are you seeing in Server 2012 R2 that the previous version didn't have?
Well, you know, a couple of them. There's quite a few, and they're a laundry list, and obviously you can check it out on the web. But the ones that come to mind that are important, I think, are number one, work folders. Now, work folders, think Dropbox for the corporate environment that you can utilize, where essentially you've got once you turn on the feature, you have a fully secure file transfer system in place where it synchronizes your files and everything. The only little drawback is you do need to have Windows 8.1 or now, of course, Windows 10 coming out, but a lot of people, I hear tons of people can't wait for Windows 10, so that should work really well in that environment. Another one that has been a thorn in the side of a lot of system admins is keeping all your servers in the same configuration states. And so now they have what is called desired state configuration, or DSC. And what it essentially does is allow you to say, I want that all our systems have to be lined up this way, they have to have this application, they have to be at least this level, and that makes it a lot easier for people. You get a baseline of all the roles and features that are on your servers. And then, of course, there's things that are in the storage tiers where you can now delineate solid state drives from your regular hard drives, which makes it really cool. And then, of course, Hyper-V. They have really upgraded Hyper-V. They've cleaned up the whole thing from Generation 1 to Generation 2 VHDX files, and they have added what we've been begging for a long time, and that is the ability to do live migration migration. So essentially, if you, Steve, are working on your laptop and it's actually connected to a virtual machine, and I need to move it from one VM host to another VM host, guess what? I can do that, and you will not see anything. It's all behind the scenes, which actually was something that VMware, that's what they used to sell that they could do and Hyper-V could not. Not anymore. You can actually do live migration, which is pretty cool.
So all of these new features, there's a cost for the license. So the big question becomes, is it worth the cost for the upgrade?
Well, as a trainer that's working with a lot of people, I know their budgets, and as a politician on the side, I have to say it depends on your environment and how much money you've got. I've been talking with a lot of people out there in the industry, and I found that if you are in the world of virtualization, just like I mentioned with the Hyper-V environment, if you are moving towards a cloud infrastructure, they've added a lot of really cool features for Windows Azure and infrastructure as a service kind of environment, IaaS. I would say that it is worth your time. But for example, I've got a friend who works for Wells Fargo. He works very high up in the Active Directory infrastructure environment. And I asked him, hey, are you jumping on this? And he says, where we're using a lot of virtualization, yes, we're going to upgrade to 2012 R2. But for environments in areas where, hey, Windows Server 2008 R2, it's humming, it's happening, we're just going to leave it alone. It's not worth it, expenditures there in that area. Eventually they might want to do it, but maybe it's okay just to kind of leave it behind right there.
Right. So you mentioned the financial industry. Mm-hmm. Are there specific types of businesses that would benefit from an upgrade to R2?
Yeah, and again, a lot of it has to do with the type of functionality within those businesses. Obviously, any type of business that uses virtualization. Banks are one, big corporate environments, a lot of your software development environments, obviously, because you have those virtual environments that your test environments that can be used. People that are wanting to be more global with the infrastructure as a service and Windows Azure, those are going to be things. Manufacturing companies, I believe, would be it would be a good thing. We mentioned the thing about storage. If you are something like the Netflix environments and the places where they have huge amounts of files, well, then again, it might make sense to invest into going to R2.
So, is there a feature that you personally are most excited about seeing?
One of the things I really, really like is something called file screening. And the reason why is because it used to be when you had files being stored. For example, I have a friend who works for a school organization. Essentially what they did was they found was that students were utilizing these file servers to deposit videos, and those videos they would take and they would say .txt on the end, so they would still be able to save them in their environment. But when you've got gigabytes and gigabytes of these things, they said, how can we solve that? Well, with file screening, you actually have the ability to say, hey, not only am I going to utilize this type of file, but you can actually go into the file itself and say, no, this is not allowed, and you can customize it just based upon the size of the file. Obviously, in a video file, it's going to be gigabytes in size, and so any text file that's a gig or more, not going to be saved. So file screening has really been updated and upgraded there in your Windows Server 2012 R2 environment.
So, final word. If I'm a business and I'm looking at the possibility of Server 2012 R2, what would you want me to know?
I think that the migration capabilities over the years, Microsoft, let's give them credit, has really upped the game in making it easier to move from one environment to another, whether you're updating from a Windows Server 2008 up to a 2012 R2, or whether it's just 2012 going up to R2. They're making it simpler and simpler. But as always, before you do any of that, check out, what is it that you're trying to accomplish, document what the business case is going to be, and then once you decide to pull the trigger, then make sure that you have a great design and implementation plan in place, which, by the way, is what my 70-413 class is all about.
So there you go. Now you know the basics of Server 2012 R2 and some of the cool features it offers. And as Chris mentioned, his latest course release on CBT Nuggets explores R2 in depth. So check it out for more information. Now remember, as we end the show, we're on YouTube, we're on iTunes, we're on the CBT Nuggets blog, so you can be entertained and learn basic IT skills by watching our past episodes. We'll see you next month. Unless you annoy your boss by not understanding the resources you already have to utilize. So remember, always continue to learn. See you next month.
Can we export the server yet? Can we export the server yet? Can we export? 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 Can we export?